Hey there, Hall H Show listeners. Aaron Nabus here, and on behalf of my co-host, Alex Benedicto, I just want to wish you all the happiest of New Year's. Before we get to our first podcast of 2019 with our good friend Keithan Jones, I just want to let you know that in the next couple of months, we will be uploading some of our remaining 2018 interviews from WonderCon and San Diego Comic-Con, as well as the audio from a few panels from conventions such as San Diego Comic Fest, where I got to moderate my very first panel featuring the Accidental Aliens. Due to the daily grind of each of our jobs and also my involvement in other projects, we have been a bit behind schedule with our podcast uploads. But don't worry, true believers, we have some pretty good ones that I know you will enjoy. Some of which include my good friend, graphic designer, and comic book historian Arlen Schumer, Forbes writer Rob Salkowitz, comic book men's Ming Chen, fellow content creators Leonard Sultana and Alyssa Franks, and comic book creators David Schrader, Terry Mayo, and Tristan Whitehouse, just to name a few. Now, without further ado, here's our most recent podcast with Keithan Jones, where we'll recap our 2018 and see what Keithan has in store for 2019, especially with his comic book, The Power Knights, his company, Kid Comix, and the upcoming Black Comics Day. Enjoy. Happy New Year, fellow nerds and geeks, and thank you so much for tuning into the Hall H Show podcast. Aaron Nabus here, and along with my co-host, Alex Benedicto.
Hey, how's it going?
We are the voice of independent creators. On this episode, we welcome back one of our favorite independent creators, Mr. Keithan Jones. What's up, Keithan?
Hey, everyone. Happy holidays.
Keithan is the owner of Kid Comix and the creator of the comic book, The Power Knights. If you've been a long-time listener of the show, you'll know that he felt he owed his 11-year-old self the opportunity to bring this idea to fruition. We'll catch up on the latest issue. We'll cover some of our highlights of 2018. And we'll also talk about another project that Keithan has created, something that he's really passionate about as well. Black Comics Day, Heroes Rise 2, which will happen on Saturday, February 16th, 2019. It's going to be from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. at the very location we are recording this podcast, the Valencia Park, Malcolm X Library here in San Diego, California. All right, let's get this show on the road. Keithan, how you been, brother?
I've been great, man. I'm super busy. I'm juggling a lot of things at once, but it's been good. It's been good moving forward since I last talked to you guys.
Yeah, I think last time we had a bunch of airplanes overhead.
Yeah.
This time we won't have that problem. I think we found a home for maybe some of our future podcasts. It's pretty cool here at the library.
Yeah, I think so. I'm always bigging up this place, the Malcolm X Library here on Euclid. It's a great facility, modern. I love what they're doing for the kids here. They have a teen center that has Mac computers, big screen televisions with game boxes hooked up to it. But more importantly, they have 3D printers, and they have someone here on site teaching the kids how to operate the 3D printing programs and using the actual equipment along with the other programs. So it's fun, and it's educational, and it's modern.
Sweet. I know there's a few things that I want to get 3D printed. That'd be pretty cool to try and do.
Yeah, man, I would love to have some action figures made up of my Power Knights one day.
Speaking of Power Knights, maybe we'll just go right into it. What's the update on the comic book?
The comic book is basically, production is basically done. About to send it to print. And the book, the Kickstarter backers will get their copies first, and then it'll be available to the general public shortly after that. And that's going to be, all of that's happening in January. So just around the corner. And it's running late. I had originally planned to have the book out months ago, but unbeknownst to me, I ended up taking on a job for another company called Vortex Comix, which is located in Canada, and they hired me to work on their Chaos Breaker comic book. And I can't really speak on the details of that project, other than that I basically doing all the chores from the coloring, the pencils, colors, and inks of that book. And it looks fantastic. I can't wait to show folks, but like I said, that's part of the delay of the Power Night. So I literally been working on 2 comic books at once. So that's the holdup.
Cool. And I'm sending a shout out to my friend Chuck Copeland, who I guess he originally approached me, and he asked me if I knew anybody that could work on that book.
Yeah, and you were the catalyst to getting me in contact with those folks. So publicly, I'm giving you a public shout out. Thank you very much. It's killing me, but but I appreciate the work.
Awesome! Can't wait to see it.
For sure.
Besides the project that you took on that delayed the comic book, what were some of the other challenges that you faced this time around for this is the 4th issue, right?
Yeah, issue 4, and next to there's going to be a total of 5 installments, but the 5th installment will be an actual trade. So it'll be a collection of the previous 4 issues with the new material being the 5th issue, and I'm not going to release that as a single issue. I'm going to release it as a trade, and
nice, so
that the trade has something fresh to offer. And then if people make us think about it, then I guess I'll release issue 5 individually. But as of now, I plan to issue the entire story as a trade in the future.
What were some of the challenges that you faced this time around?
It's just with the shows that I'm spearheading, like Black Comics Day, Afrofuturism Night, San Diego Comic Con, and doing the shows and spearheading my own shows, and then taking on, like I said, Vortex Comics, their project. And it's just been a matter of time. I have to make sure that I give each project its proper due, because I don't like putting out shoddy product. So I want to make sure I put my heart into everything that I do, or at least put my name on. So it can be, it's just a matter of finding the energy, because even though you're sitting at a computer or a drawing table all day, it looks easy, but it's like at the end of the day, like, man, did I dig a hole or something? Like, because my body is just drained, and it's a couple of times where I hit a burnout where I just couldn't get myself to, I couldn't get my body and mind to do the work. So I had, it's almost like my body forced itself to take a couple of days to a week off sometimes, because I just hit a wall. I just burn out. Like, it's like your cell phone that when the battery dies, you got to recharge. That was me. So
what'd you do to recharge?
Physically can't do anything but sit there and go to sleep. You just go to sleep. It's like I don't, and I've told myself to stop. I keep telling myself, don't stay up past a certain hour continuously. But there's times where you're just trying to hit that deadline and you have no choice but to pull longer hours. To make sure everything stays on track. But
especially because you're handling pretty much almost all the things on this book.
All the chores. Yeah. Like normally, a comic book is there's a team. There's a writer. There's an artist. There's a colorist. There's an inker. But because of I have a particular vision and financial reasons, I have to take on those chores myself. Like I'm not in a position to just hire top-notch talent to handle some of those chores, and I also don't have time to I've had people like, hey man, I'll do it for free. And it's like that sounds great and all, and I've even tried that before, but it always ends the same way. They either they're not who they advertise themselves to be, or they do the work, but it's not done correctly, which means that they've eaten up a lot of time and I have to go back and redo it. Mm-hmm. And I'm a young company, so first impressions are very important, so I can't just accept anything and just put it out there. So, it's just my situation as a businessman is too sensitive for me to make bad impressions on folks.
With your young company, has anything changed since the last time that we talked? Any new people under the umbrella?
Well, the profile's gotten a lot larger. Mm-hmm. I had an incident that just blew me away recently. I went to see Spider-Man and the Spider-Verse, right? Mm-hmm. Excellent movie, by the way. And I walked out the theater, and a fan of mine, like someone who was collecting the Power Knights issues that I had never met, didn't know, recognized me. And
wow.
He called me out, and I was like, huh? And he said, hey, yeah, I collect. You're Keithan Jones, right? And I was like, yeah. And I'm a fan of the Power Knights. I really, he was telling me about how great the book was and how much he loved it. And I was like, you like the story and everything? Like, yeah. And he was telling me about how issue one, he was like, he wasn't sure where the story was headed, because it was kind of like open-ended. But he said, man, by the time I got to issue 2 and 3, man, it was like I was totally digging it. I was totally into it. And that really just like, he probably didn't know, but inside I was like, what? I kind of played it cool, but I was just kind of like, I was already buzzing from the vibe I got from Spider-Verse. So to immediately walk out the theater and have the first person that said something to me was a fan of my work.
That's incredible.
I was like on cloud 9. I was like, wow. So it just gave me that energy I needed to continue on with this whole kid comics thing that I'm trying to put out in the world, Mm-hmm. And it was just very inspiring experience. So it just, to answer your question, it's like, okay, before, when I first got started, obviously no one knew who I was, and those type of things didn't happen. Yeah. So now that something like that happens, it makes me feel like, oh, okay, I must be doing something right. There's mm-hmm. people out there really enjoying the work, and they're talking about it, and they're picking up on the things that I intended them to pick up on within the story. So
it's such a surreal feeling when people recognize you, outside somewhere.
Sure.
Like we were at I think it was Designer Con, and somebody recognized me from Comic-Con Fit.
Oh, wow.
That who I never met before, but we sort of interacted online a little bit.
It's crazy, right?
Yeah, she's from Arizona, and she went to Designer Con.
Nice.
So it was pretty cool. It was an interesting feeling. And
it's affirmation, man.
It's humbling.
Yeah, it's humbling.
Yeah.
So it legitimizes you, at least with yourself, because people, they see you on Facebook and Instagram and think everything looks like it's hunky-dory and everything's great. But there's dark times, man. There's nights where I was like really questioning my decision to do this because it's hard, man. It's not, you don't get that immediate gratification, or you don't know if people are even going to, as hard as you work on it, it doesn't matter because you don't know if people are really going to dig it once you put it out there. And if they don't, it can be crushing. It's like, damn, I wasted all my time. No one likes this crap. And so, and then it doesn't mean, and then you have like regular life issues that you're dealing with. Like you always have your financials you have to deal with. You have your wife and kids and all that private stuff happening that you don't really necessarily put out there like that you have to deal with. And so, and that's happening, but you still have to get your book done, and not everybody around you or in your life understands your passion, or even know or even understand what comics are, or the whole culture behind it, so it can be a lonely experience sometimes.
Now that you've been working on the comic book and also working on kid comics for a while now, has your family been sort of more supportive?
They've always been supportive. It's just that they, like my mom, she doesn't collect comics, and I don't expect her to understand this world, Yeah. Just her support is enough for me. But she's more understanding these days now that she can see the tangible effects of it, and me doing the. She's actually helping me. Well, let me rewind a little bit. She is actually part of the Malcolm X Library staff, mm-hmm. and she's like one of the organizers to make sure that the finances and the getting funding and all that stuff stays on track, right? So they actually approached me originally to put on a show like Black Comics Day because they didn't have any knowledge of the comic book culture, but they thought it'd be a nice addition to their festivities for Black History Month. So obviously my mom knew me, and she thought, "Oh, my Keithan does comics. I'll mm-hmm. ask him about it." And so, bada bing, bada boom. That's how I actually ended up being connected to Malcolm X Library doing Black Comics Day. And so they depend on me to basically put the thing together because that's my world, and I have those contacts.
No, you could have said no, but because you were busy, obviously working on your mm-hmm. book and trying to,
Originally, I was going to say no.
Yeah.
Originally, I was going to.
So,
say no.
I mean, can you dive a little bit more deeper into why you said yes?
That's a good question. I think I sat there and really thought about the importance of it. Like, it probably, if it's successful, that'll be fantastic. That'll be a whole new venue. An opportunity for people in the Black community, especially where this place is located here. I mean, San Diego doesn't have a lot of Black people. It's probably the smallest minority group here, but there's a lot of Asian, a lot of Islanders, just people of color in general here in San Diego. It's a good mix, mm-hmm. and they all live in the same neighborhood. Where this library is located, and I thought, you know what, this will be a good opportunity for the kids of this community to see that you can make a profession out of this. Because I know I was one. I grew up here, so I was one of those kids, and I know how talented the pool is here. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to diss anybody personally, but the schooling system here, I don't think necessarily promotes it strongly like that. The arts, you know what I mean? A lot of the art programs since I was a kid have been removed out of the system. So I thought I stepped back and look at the bigger pictures. Like, I don't have a lot of time to do this, but I think it's important enough for me to put my hand into the pot and really see where I can take it, So I'll just grit my teeth, give up some of my life hours and just and try to put out the best show that I can. And man, it was a huge success. It went off better than I expected. I got artists there from Marvel, from DC, people I didn't even think would be interested in. I mean, I was hoping it would be, but I always thought it was a long shot for them to actually want to be a part of it. And sure enough, man, they showed out, and it was good for everyone. The folks to this day keep telling me how much of a great time they had at the show, and they can't wait till the next one. And then the artists were like, "Yo, man, I sold out. Like, this is one of the only shows that I actually sold out." So it was working on all cylinders, and we're just hoping to duplicate that success again coming up.
Yeah, you had a pretty cool panel that we recorded with John Jennings.
Yeah.
So David Walker, and it was moderated by Hannibal Taboo.
Yep.
So that was pretty cool.
He won't be able to moderate it this year. I'll take on the moderating duties myself because he's, last I checked, he's on a world tour. He's out, I think he's somewhere in Europe right now. So
I thought it was in Ghana or something.
Huh?
I thought it was in Ghana, or Chris Swaney was there.
like I said, world tour. He could be. He could be in Ghana. He could be. Yeah, I think I saw a picture of him next to the pyramids. So yeah, he's out there. David Walker plans to show up again. Same with John Jennings, and those two they've moved on into higher levels in their career as well since they were last here. John Jennings has an imprint with and I can't remember the name of the publishing company, but it's one of the majors in America, where they gave him. He's actually, we'll say he's an editor of pushing a collection of books that are based on creators of color, I think. I don't know if that's a specific goal I don't know if that's a specific mission for the company, but I do know that they gave him the responsibility of finding talent and putting out books that would not otherwise be highlighted in popular media. So he's curating that.
Awesome. And he recently won an Eisner Award, right?
We recently won an Eisner Award. I can't keep track of that dude. He's always winning awards, man. He's winning awards right and left. He's just moving.
Right.
And then there's David Walker, who just put out a hit book called, Lord, man, got that old man memory. What's the name of the book? I just bought it. Something to my tongue. It's for Image Comics. You know what I'm talking about?
I saw him post about it, but I haven't had a chance to take a look at it yet.
It's on the tip of my tongue, too.
Are you looking up, Alex?
Forgive me, folks out there listening.
Well, while Alex is looking it up, what can we look forward to on the next Black Comics Day for 2019?
Look forward to more independent creators being highlighted and presenting their books, and a lot of the guys that were there last year will be returning. We have a couple of new people premiering. We got we're playing around with having a cosplay contest. A children's character. I did it last year. I'm probably going to do it again, but basically a contest for the kids to create a comic book character, with the grand prize of being $100 each for the winners, because there's two age groups. There's the kid group, I think it's ages 6 to 9 or something like that, or 6 to 10, and then there's the teenage group from 11 to 18 or 11 to 17, and yeah, that's it. Bitterroot. Yeah, David Walker is behind a hit book called Bitterroot, which is put out under Image, and from what I heard, they're doing really well with that book. And I think he's still working on Luke Cage for Marvel, Luke Cage and Iron Fist. And,
I don't think he's there anymore.
Not at all?
I don't think so. I could be wrong, but I could have sworn I read something that he's not there anymore.
Yeah, well, he did that. So, what else is going on there? We're gonna have the panel. That I want to do a panel that's going to basically take the point of view of 3 artists, and Chad Kavanaugh, Robert Roach, and the lady. There's one lady. I should pull it up on my phone. Angela Davis, or Angela.
You see the Super Seek? Is that her book?
No. First name is Angela. You see, I'm not prepared for this. But the 3 of them, I'm basically going to pick their brain on how they approach writing characters of color. And I thought it'd be a good mix, because it's an African-American man, African-American woman, and a white male. And the 3 of them have books that focus on African-American characters. And I wanted to see the dichotomy there. Like, what is your thing? What is the dynamic between how the 3 of you approach it? 2 men and a woman, from different backgrounds. and how they approach writing characters, colors, how they market it, and so on and so forth as independent creators. So I thought that would be an interesting panel to get the mind chewing on.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Especially with Chad on there, because we're pretty good friends with Chad too. So
yeah, and I chose Chad because I really liked the work he did for his comic Boxcar Justice.
Yeah, it's a good one.
It's a very good book. I highly recommend to anyone. And Chad usually writes. He's an interesting guy. He's is it Marines? Was he former Marine?
I think he was in Army.
Was it Army?
I think it was Army.
Yeah, former Army veteran. And so he has a particular approach to his stories. But I do find his stories to be particularly dark.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's into that dark, almost like violent, grim stuff. So, and you would think hearing that the stories would be a bunch of like gory fluff, not too much going on there. But when you actually read it, there's a lot of psychology behind his work.
Sure, and
it's deeper than you would think.
And his stories run the gamut, going from like sort of Viking world to post-apocalyptic to noir. So he's really doing a lot of experimentation, and
he is.
And I'm finding it.
He's pretty fearless in the way he goes about creating his work, and I like that about him. And I like that he's a very open-minded person too, on a personal level. Like he doesn't make you feel like he's judging you because of your choices in life or how you conduct yourself. He gives, and I just like people like that in general that give you the freedom to be yourself and give you breathing room, because I know other creators who are very restrictive in their point of view of the world, and the way and how they commingle with people. It can be a Debbie Downers kind of like, I understand that it's your point of view, but at the same time you're very restrictive in the way you judge people.
Right.
And I just don't think, personally, I don't understand how you can be an artist and have that mindset to begin with. Like, that just doesn't scream artist to me. It's like, how are you an artist? And you're like, you sound like somebody from 1920s, like a grandpa from 1920. Just like everything is shocking to you and everything is like a no-go for you. And it's just like, and you chose this field? Comic books?
I just find it funny that I'm only a few days older than he is. And he's like, I'm like 5'7", and he's like 6'5".
Yeah, he's a big dude.
But he still calls me Kuya.
He does?
which means older brother in Tagalog.
Oh, wow. And he knew that?
Yeah, because his wife is like a quarter Filipino.
Oh, is she?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
So
yeah, you were looking at Chad, he looks like he could play Thor. He literally looks like he could play Thor. But he's like a gentle giant. He's just
Thor from the Incredible Hulk from the 1980s, or from
from the MCU.
You ever watch that one? The when Hulk was on trial, I think, and then Thor was there.
Was Thor there?
Yeah.
Did he have a speaking part?
Yeah.
He did?
You never watched that one?
I remember.
If I did, I don't remember.
I don't remember Thor. I remember the Hulk. I know Stan Lee was in it.
Yeah. I think it was.
So what? They had the Avengers there?
No, it was just Thor and Hulk.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I'll have to pull that up.
Time to look that up.
Yeah. I'll have to pull that up.
Anything else that you want to tell us about Black Comics Day?
Yeah. So people out there listening to this, I really want you guys to come to this show. It's going to be fantastic. If last year was any indicator, you're going to have a great time. I want everyone to feel welcome. I know it's called Black Comics Day, and that might be a little offsetting to some folks out there, but I really hope that you can ignore that impulse and open your mind up to come to a show like this, because really it's just a cultural event. It's not about it's not like you're being indoctrinated into anything. It's just like celebrating St. Patrick's Day or something, or any one of these other holidays. It's just a cultural event, come out, see your brothers from another mother, check out the work they're putting out there. There'll be food. There'll be we're gonna do a raffle, so you might win something. Obviously, the main event is the artists themselves. That's what I want you guys to really come and support them and see their work and get to know them. And you might meet some folks who created some of your favorite characters, or at least worked on them. I mean, and not just black characters. Like, we got guys that worked on Spider-Man, we got guys that worked on Luke Cage, we got guys that worked on the X-Men, so on and so forth. It happens February 16th. Mm-hmm. It's just an event to celebrate Black History Month. That's why it's called what it's called. It's once a year thing. So, and it's a 1-day event. So, so make sure there's unfortunately it's not like San Diego Comic-Con where you have a whole week to get to it. But just mark your calendars for that Saturday, the 16th of February, and it's free.
It's free, yeah.
You're not
parking is free.
Parking is free. We're not charging you an arm and leg just to get into the place. What else?
Yeah, we had an incredible time last year. We got to meet a whole bunch of new artists that we never knew about, like Greg Anderson, LSA.
Oh yeah,
the creator.
He's coming back.
The creator of Is Not Another Wear Spider.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of funny how it happened, but as the library was closing down and we were wrapping up the show, since he was from New York, and we had asked him if he would ever want to be on our podcast. He said, "Yeah, cool." And then it wasn't later on until we found out that he was from New York, and then we kind of thought, what, we might as well just have you on the show right now. So with the library closing like within an hour, we asked if we could do a podcast with him.
Yeah, I remember that.
And he was down, he was game, and he was an awesome guest. And it was so great to meet him and a lot of our other artists that we met that day.
Awesome. And that lady's name was Angela Nixon, actually, not Angela Davis.
Okay.
I like Angela Davis, but her name was Angela Nixon, and she'll be on the panel with Chad.
Okay, cool.
So it'll be Chad Kavanaugh, Angela Nixon, and Robert Roach. And Robert Roach is the creator of
Menthu.
Menthu. Yeah, right, and he's awesome. He's I think he's a storyboard artist for live action and animation, and he does like translations for Japanese mangas and.
He seemed pretty like into Japanese culture.
Yeah, well, yeah, and he has to actually. That was part of his gig too. He had to. That was his professional job doing the. I don't know if he was just translating the language of the films or the manga, or he was actually physically doing storyboards or whatever. But he has his hands in that culture a little bit.
Cool. Well, we're looking forward to Black Comics Day for sure.
For sure, man. And then also, like I said, look out for. Please support my personal book, The Power Knights, issue 4. Will be available in January, right before the Black Comics Show, and if you don't want to wait for that, issues 1 through 3 are currently available at kid-comics.com.
Can you sort of catch up our audience on the latest on the Power Knights, like
story-wise?
Story-wise, yeah.
Where the story stands now is if you, and I'm trying to do it without spoilers, but issue 4 is when issue 4 is like everything. I want to say everything kind of hits the fan. Like the characters are as a reader, you're really going to get to know what really is motivating each one of the characters and why they are who they are and what makes them tick individually and the dynamic they have between each other. Particularly, and like I said, how do I say this about spoilers? You find out the motivations of the main villain, Warseed, why he's doing what he's doing, and his philosophy of wanting to remake the world into a monarchy. And this is not really a spoiler, but he basically believes leaving mankind to his own devices only it's going to end bad. And it's a self-preservation thing to him. He's like, well, I'm on the same planet as he's not from Earth, but since he's on Earth, he doesn't trust mankind's judgment, and he feels that man is basically it's a child in his thinking, and it's ultimately going to lead to self-destruction. And he doesn't want to be here
when that happens.
to be here when that happens. He doesn't want to sit by and let his future be dictated by people he feels that are beneath him or inferior to him, you know. So he goes about the business of changing the course of history with the power that he has. Unfortunately for him, the rest of the Power Knights, the rest of the people that come from his world that he came to Earth with, don't feel the same. They feel that everyone should be liberated. Everyone should have the right to make their own choices in life, including bad choices. You know, so the power. Our heroes are of the mindset that everyone should have the liberty to choose their own life, live their own lifestyle, have the power of choice, and they're about defending that. You know, also they don't want to expose themselves to mankind, because that brings in a whole other world of problems. You know, it's like what happens when you find out that aliens exist and they've been living among you. You know,
Mm-hmm.
They're trying to lead quiet lives, but he's threatening to expose all that, and he's threatening to cause havoc in their lives as well by going out the way he is. You know, so yeah, you have to read it. I think it's a good from what people have told me, it's a very good read. I think it's a good read. And it gets better as you read it. Like, it gets more in depth. You know, the first issue kind of sets things up. It's not, I don't reveal a whole lot, but as you continue to read, at least the way I like to write, I want you to grow with the characters. I want you to discover things as you read it. I don't want to just give it all away in the first issue, you know, with a bunch of exposition. I think that's kind of boring, like when you're sitting there reading wall of text, trying to explain what's going on. It says, why, instead of doing that, why don't you just experience it as it happens in real time, you know? And that way you'll be more connected to the characters, which is one of the things I really loved about Spider-Verse. I think that's like the best Spider-Man movie, not because technically it looks beautiful, but because I think that's the truest interpretation of what that character is about, and why people, at least myself, why I'm attracted to Spider-Man. Because Spider-Man is my favorite. He was my favorite character growing up.
Right. I think I remember you mentioning that before.
Yeah, and this is the first time where I felt like, okay, now that's the Spider-Man. That's the feeling I had when I read those issues. That's the Spider-Man that I know.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to watching before I head back to work, because I'm gonna.
Oh, you haven't seen it yet?
Not yet.
Oh,
I watched
see it.
I watched Bumblebee and Aquaman already, so I still need to watch Into the Spider-Verse.
Yeah, you went in the wrong order. no slight to those movies, but I'm just saying, like, I can guarantee you that this movie's.
Well, you know, there's a lot of people that say that Into the Spider-Verse is their favorite movie, period, in the last 10 years at least.
I say that. I say that. I can vouch for that, you know. And that includes Infinity War, which I love, you know. I would put Spider-Verse slightly above Infinity War. And because it's a total experience. It's not just like Infinity War was like, man, that was good. And I was actually, you know, I was contemplating what I saw after I left the theater. So it did affect me, right, heavily. But the Spider-Man movie was similar to how I felt when I watched the first Superman movie. You left out the theater feeling elevated.
The Richard Donner version.
Yeah, the Richard Donner version. You left the theater, and I was a kid when that came out, right? So, and you left the theater feeling like, man, I want to put a cape on and fly around and be a hero, and you felt elevated, you know? And that's how I felt leaving the Spider-Verse. It's like, it was just hitting all cylinders, the messaging behind it, the artistry of it,
the music,
it all fit seamlessly. You know, it was a perfect little movie. And
yeah, I'll listen to the score of of that first Superman movie. Just send chills.
Exactly. That's how I felt. And I'm still listening to the score of Spider-Verse. It has the same effect. And it's, what was I going to say? It's legitimately funny, too. It's not like, it was like really funny, like in a legitimate way. And I don't know, man. I can't say enough about that film. Like, I really want to shake the hands of everybody that worked on it. Like, man, you guys knocked that one out.
Nice.
Like, you really knocked that one out the park. Like people say, like each frame is a work of art. Like, wow. And it felt like I've seen attempts at directors trying to make live action versions of comic books. Like, remember when Ang Lee did the Hulk?
Yeah.
He would break up he would try to throw panels in there, and some of the way he edited that film, he tried to make it look like a comic. And I've seen other films try to do something similar to that, but it didn't feel like a comic book. Spider-Verse actually felt like this is legitimately like a real comic come to life. Like, it really felt like a comic book, in the way that it looked, in the way it was edited, and the whole it's hard to explain. You have to see it yourself, but it's like, this is the real deal, man. Like, it was very respectful of its roots.
It's kind of cool to see that something that's animated make this impact where it doesn't have to be live action all the time.
No. This really legitimized the art of animation. Ever since Disney did it originally, like when he broke it open with Snow White, that was an experiment that was never done. The concept of what he did back then with Snow White was unheard of. Like, you're gonna make a 2-hour animated movie. Who's gonna watch that? And then people went in there and they were just like, whoa. They were blown away, not because, oh, that's a cool drawing, but because the story was really affecting them. Like, they were really into the story aspect of the film. Like, the film part, the technical part was secondary to what you're really there for, which is to be taken into another world and seduced by what you're seeing and hearing on screen. Like, so that, yeah, I give that movie a 10/10, and I aspire to do the same thing with my Power Nights,
That'd be something to see.
Yeah, I aspire to do the same thing. So, but for now, you just got, I'm doing my best with the writing on just the comic, because I'm at heart, I'm a comic book writer artist. That's what I do. That's my passion. So I'm trying to respect the genre of comic books and keep that whole industry, upright, because I believe right now, and I've probably said this a million times before, I just feel like there's a certain element missing in the comic book industry right now, outside of the films are doing it, but that's not necessarily translating to the books. You know what I mean?
Right.
That same excitement, that energy, like going, it's new comic book day, and I'm gonna go there and see all the good book, all the new books, and get that buzz. And it's kind of like, right now, it's kind of like, you might find 1 or 2 books that has that going on, but the majority of them, it's just not. I don't know. I don't want to diss anybody. I just feel like there's something missing.
No, but I think a lot of people, especially comic book stores, were sort of hoping for a push. With the popularity of the movies, it'll help push comic book sales.
Yeah, and I've been hearing about all the stores closing.
Right.
So that's worrying to me. Like, what's going on with that? Why are they closing? I feel that the problem lies in the fact that I don't think they've been nurturing a new generation of readers. I think they kind of abandoned the kids at some point. And personally, I think it goes back to when Watchmen and Dark Knight hit the scene.
I think you might be onto something, because, I didn't think professional wrestling was popular anymore, but, all the people that used to watch it when we were kids, they're starting to bring their kids to all these, wrestling shows. So that's helping the spurn, or helping to sort of extend the popularity of pro wrestling.
Right.
We need something like that for comic books.
You have to do it. Like, you can't. People don't stay young forever. They age out of this stuff. or they have, or their lives are too complicated to sit down for a moment and read a comic book or any book. So you have to always have something there for the newer generation to latch on to. And the newer generation's not this, the demographic is not the same as it was in the 50s when Captain America and Spider-Man and all these characters hit the scene. Those dynamics are not the same, That's why you're seeing despite all the complaining about it, that's why you're seeing such a diversity movement happening in comics, because to the executives, on the business side, it makes sense. They have to do something, otherwise the old adage comes around: adapt or die. You can't just you can't listen to the loudest voices sometimes. That loud minority voice that's just like, why are you changing? What Miles Morales? What is that? Is that a black Spider-Man? I don't want that. And it's like, dude, you didn't even read it. You don't even know that Peter Parker is still here. A lot of people aren't even like. There's a lot of people too that, like, right now with the Spider-Verse being as great as it is, they're doing themselves a disservice because in their mind they think they know what it's about. And it's like, dude, nothing could be further from the truth. It's like you have to investigate these things for yourself. Like you have to, don't be sheep. Don't be. I don't understand this whole thing. That's the weird thing. Like I come from a generation where we're still individuals, where we find out things for ourselves. But this new generation that's out there, they're like this. They're like what's that group in Star Trek? They're like the Borg. The Borg.
Yeah.
It's like what? It's like, do you guys like get a script in the morning and you just read it every day? It's like they don't have it. There's a lack of individuality out there right now, or accepting of things that are different. And I also think fans are too concerned about what's going on in the corporate room. Like, when did you guys start becoming executives and are having these conversations about, well, how much of the budget went to this and how much of the budget went to, like, what? When did you get into the executive room and stop being, instead of just being fans of the art, let the artists be artists. You be the fans. If you don't like it, then find something you do like. But this whole like number watching, like, well, how much did Aquaman make versus Spider-Verse versus Wonder Woman versus, it's like, it's starting to really get old to me. Like, you people need to get back to being fans of the art and stop worrying about the competition of it all. It kind of spoils it. Like this whole DC Marvel thing. It's like Bloods and Crips at this point. Like they're literally like not watching these films because it has DC on the, the logo, the DC logo stamped on it, or the Marvel logo stamped on it. Well, I'm a Marvel fan. Well, I'm a DC fan, so your stuff sucks. So, no, your stuff sucks. It's like, did you actually watch the movie? No, but I know this is the type of movies that DC makes, or this is the type of movies that Marvel makes, or Fox, or whatever. And they're just doing themselves a disservice by, having these preconceived ideas about this art.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to like it. I'm not saying you don't have to like something. But to beat the crap out of somebody because they do like it, it's just.
Well, at least, but you do hit on something. It's like you shouldn't like discredit something unless you've like actually read it.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's my whole point. There's a lot of people. There's a lot of people with opinions who didn't even look at it,
mm-hmm.
or didn't even read it. And they have all these followers.
It's almost like voting, or complaining without even voting.
Yeah, it's exactly the same thing. It's like you're putting a lot of energy into something you haven't even read, mm-hmm. or watched. It's like, and I don't even know for what. Like, they're not gonna write you a check. they're not going to write you a check. So what are you doing?
I guess we can maybe go over some of our highlights of 2018. I know that for me, one of the big highlights was a chance to sort of moderate my first panel at San Diego Comic Fest, which is a panel that involved the accidental aliens. So,
That's right.
Props to them for giving me that opportunity. It was kind of funny because they called me, or they contacted me like a day beforehand, or maybe a few days before their panel was going to be on at San Diego Comic Fest, and they asked me if I wanted to be on. I was like, sure.
See, that's what I mean. That's a testament to All H.
Uh-huh.
I think the work that you've been putting in for these last few years is manifested into opportunities like that. Because I like that. I like how professional you guys are. You ask important questions. You're you got to. I mean, your presentation's respectful to the artist that you're interviewing. I've come across guys who don't even have the interview the day they say they're going to have it. They disappear on you, or when they do, they're not. The production is shoddy. Something. It's like basically what I'm saying is like, if you're not passionate about your own project, how can you be passionate about what I'm doing? Like,
Mm-hmm.
how do I trust you with what I'm doing to represent me if you can't even represent yourself well? So I think what you're doing, Aaron and Alex, is commendable. Like, you guys are showing real passion behind Hall H, and that inspires people to want to know you or be represented by you.
Well, thank you so much. That means a lot.
No problem, man.
And another highlight was San Diego Comic-Con. We had a chance to interview a whole bunch of people, and I still need to get those interviews up on online. But of course, working all the time and doing all these side projects.
So did you guys speaking of that, did you guys get around that whole, remember that whole rules of the game in San Diego Comic-Con?
I guess just to sort of remind our audience, the original plan was for Alex and I were going to work at the booth, Bobby Rubio's booth. Bobby Rubio is a story artist at Pixar, and he has a booth at San Diego Comic-Con. Same location for like how many years, Alex?
12, almost 15 years.
Yes, it's a prime spot. It's a corner spot,
Mm-hmm.
like a stone's throw away from the DC booth.
Yep.
So if you see like our YouTube channel, we have a YouTube video of Jason Momoa and some of the cast of Aquaman walking by. So that was pretty cool.
Cool.
We were going to work the booth, and Keithan was going to be there too, and then Bobby was going to be there, and then we sort of called ourselves the San Diego Comics Initiative. Is that what it was?
I think that was Bobby's right.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. And the original plan was that me and Alex were going to work the morning shift, and then in the afternoon we would use the booth, little space there, to do podcast interviews. But I guess San Diego Comic-Con got wind of it, and they said, no, you can't do interviews at the booth. So
on site. I think they said you can go outside and do it, but apparently.
Yeah, so basically we just went back to our usual guerrilla style interviews. So we did a few interviews here outside at the Marriott.
Hotel lobbies.
And we got a chance to interview Ming Chen from Comic Book Men.
You did?
Yeah, we got to interview him. Rob Sokowitz, he's a writer for Forbes. We got to interview two teachers, Sophia and Val. They use comic books as a sort of method to teach their students about,
nice,
like say physics and some other.
Are they here in San Diego?
No, I think they're up north, Northern California, I believe.
Okay.
So we also got to interview Tristan Whitehouse. He's part of the Accidental Aliens. We got to interview my good friend Arlen Schumer. He's a graphic designer and comic book historian. And that was kind of interesting because I always love hanging out with Arlen because our podcast went for almost 3 hours, and then we had dinner after that for another almost 3 hours. and he schooled me on like pop culture.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, he gave me homework to do.
Oh, wow.
But I love Arlen. I always love hanging out with him. He's like my older brother. We got to interview, who else did we interview? The creator of Baby Badass, David Schrader. David Schrader. Yeah, and so, we also got to interview Leonard Sultana and Alyssa Franks from Cup of Tea SDCC. It was probably the last time that they were together as a team.
Do you remember the most fascinating conversation we had last year?
What do you mean?
See if you can remember.
We? Like where?
In the hallway.
With at San Diego Comic Fest.
Yeah.
With Larry.
Larry Houston.
Larry Houston and
John Semper.
John Semper, yeah. That
Junior,
was that's oh my gosh.
That
was one conversation.
Chat.
Yeah, that's definitely a highlight.
Oh yeah.
And that's definitely a conversation that I wish I recorded because that was just pure gold, man.
Yeah.
Just
that
them.
So insightful.
Yeah, I mean, just them talking about G.I. Joe, Transformers, Spider-Man,
everything that was going on behind the scenes, and all the politics of the business, and just stories you probably would never know unless you heard it from the horse's mouth.
And just the fact what happened was they had just finished the panel, and we're just shooting the shit in the hallway, and I expected it just to be like a 5-minute conversation, but it went on for at least an hour, maybe, So I mean, wow, kudos to them for.
Yeah. It seems like Larry enjoyed, sharing his stories with us.
Yeah,
that was pretty cool. That's what I got.
Because I was getting answers to questions I had ever since I was a kid. Like, what happened to Thundar the Barbarian, and how come it didn't come on sometimes, and everything. Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, and because when I was a kid, man, with Thundar and Spider-Man, His Amazing Friends would get kicked off the air because a football or baseball game would come on and would just tick me off. Like, oh man, I've been waiting all week.
Just the fact that the reason why Optimus died. You remember what they were talking about?
Oh,
I think what did they say? It was something to do with like G.I. Joe, how they didn't want to like kill off somebody in G.I. Joe, but then
Duke.
Yeah, and then so they decided to kill off Optimus Prime or something. Do you remember that part?
No, they killed off Optimus because I don't think they were given permission. They kind of slid it in or something. Was it
because of kids?
Yeah, it was something like that.
Like they didn't want to show death in the theater.
Well,
or something.
Was it Larry Houston behind? Was he connected to that, or was that John, the Transformers movie?
I think, gosh,
or was it both of them?
I think it might have been more Larry Houston because he was involved with G.I. Joe, and I know G.I. Joe and Transformers were sort of
Hasbro,
yeah.
Somehow, some way, Transformers got away from them. I think they weren't expecting that type of hardcore script, and it got it made it all the way to production. For whatever reason, I guess they just didn't expect much out of it, or maybe it was originally designed to go straight to video. I don't know, but I don't think the way it ended up being was not the original plan, with the violence and the killing of Optimus and all that stuff. I think that's what he said.
Yeah, man,
it was a lot of stuff we were considering that night. It's hard to piece it together now, but
which is one reason why I wish we recorded it.
I wish we would have recorded because they were dropping gems for sure.
Yeah, how about you, Alex? What were some of your highlights for this year?
It's almost the same thing. We do a lot of stuff together. So, as working in a booth at San Diego Comic-Con, talking to Larry Houston and John Semper in the hallway, just almost exactly the same stuff. It's like a lot of cool things. Expect a lot more next year too. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, and working the booth was an interesting experience because that's the first time I ever worked at a booth at a con before. So just, being able to interact with the different people that walked by, people, came up to us and introduced themselves, like people who were part of the Comic-Con Fit family. It was so awesome.
What I liked about the booth thing is, well, at least from my perspective, like when sometimes people just, they don't know, they'll give you a shot, but they'll only buy one issue, right? And you don't know if they really are doing it just because they just want to be nice to you or they're really interested. But either way, they'll buy one book, right? They'll buy issue one. What really jazzed me up was like that person would come back the next day or later on in the day, like, yo, I read the first issue, man. Can I get the other 3 or the other 2?
It seemed like that happened a few times at the booth.
Yeah, that was like, wow. It's another one of those situations where it's like, okay, maybe I'm doing something right, but you get that immediate, when you're at a Comic-Con, you get that immediate reaction. It's not like, you mail off a copy to somebody that buys a book and you don't know if they like it or not. But there, like, you can get that immediate, in-your-face response to your work. So when someone actually leaves, they take one issue and actually they put it on themselves to actually come back and buy the rest because they love the first one so well. That's kind of like, oh, wow. So you get that immediate gratification and that you're doing something right and it's strong enough for someone to actually come back and buy the rest of your books.
So how did you try and connect with the people that were walking by?
I just try to be personable. I'd say, I don't just immediately jump into some sales pitch or anything like that. I just want to, just on a very surface level, hey, how you doing? And make sure they're having a good time and, and then go on from there. I've seen guys, when I was on the other side of the table before I had a booth, that I walked past some other booths before where it's like, that guy looks like he might bite my head off if I say anything to him. Though some people just don't look like they want to be messed with or talked to. Like they're trying to sell something, but they just look grumpy or arms are folded. Mm-hmm. So I just try to be the opposite of that. I try to be the opposite of that.
Yeah, I mean, you should. Yeah. You're at a con and you're trying to sell your books. I mean, you should try to be as positive and engaging as you can, right?
Yeah. And I've sat next to guys who are just upset about their business not being good. Like the entire time they're complaining about the people and complaining about this, complaining about that, instead of just like putting that energy into trying to get a sale. Like, nothing's guaranteed. These people don't have to buy your stuff. There's no sign saying they have to buy anything in here. So the least you can do is be personable and say hello.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. One thing I remember from the con, and I guess also from other events that I've seen you at, is that you're pretty good at drawing caricatures.
Oh, dude. I got that because my daughter used to go to Japanese school every Saturday here in San Diego, and they would have Japanese festival, once a year Japanese festival at the school. And somehow, some way, my wife let them know that I'm artistically inclined. I ended up having a booth at those events, drawing kids all day, caricatures of people's kids all day, and I got pretty good at it. So it gave me confidence to do more of it. Because I used to that's one of the things I avoided, dude. Like, I wouldn't, people offered me jobs at SeaWorld before doing characters.
Oh, yeah, I remember those people.
No way, because it looked difficult to me.
Yeah.
Like, that's hard. Like, drawing quick and, drawing cartoons that look like the person you're drawing, but an exaggerated version of them, but not to the point where you're insulting them. So, I just kind of stayed away from it. And that looked like a whole other discipline. But
it comes in handy because, you were doing commissions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And man, do the hours fly by. Sometimes I caution about doing that, trying to do commissions and sell books, because you'll tell a person, come back in 10 minutes, because it doesn't take that long to draw. Mm-hmm. But something that may only take 5 or 10 minutes to draw, you end up taking an hour because you're dealing with customers, and next thing you know, a whole hour has gone by. You haven't even started the caricature yet. So it's a discipline. Like, you really gotta it helps to have somebody help you with the booth. I'll put it that way. Like, that's why I bring my daughter. She's like my right hand girl. Like, she knows the ropes now, so she'll take care of the sales. And I still have to do the pitch and still have to sell people onto the book, but she can handle some of the auxiliary stuff like packaging the books and handling the money and all that stuff, which allows me to focus on the customer.
Nice.
So.
What else was going on at San Diego Comic-Con? Because we also had the Afrofuturism Lounge, right?
Yeah. Well, last year was the big thing with Black Panther.
Yeah.
So the last year was really just from February leading all the way up to the summer to San Diego Comic-Con. It was just that whole Black Panther wave and that whole energy behind independent comics, and particularly comics from creators of color. So last year was kind of special in that sense. It was like cracking that egg and having it break wide open.
Yeah, you could feel it at the I know Urias, he does the annual I guess sort of meetup.
The flash bomb, the photo bomb thing that we do at San Diego Comic Con.
Yeah, that was pretty. You felt it was like, whoa.
Yeah, I think I missed that last one. I was in the year before that, but I don't think.
I thought you were there.
You guys were there.
Did I make it?
Yeah, I watched.
Alex was manning the booth.
Yeah,
it was me.
Last year? This last summer?
Yeah, me, you, and Bobby were there.
So I went.
Yeah, I know
2017.
you guys, but I don't think I was there. Remember, I had to do Afrofuturism Lounge. I had to set it up.
I thought you were there.
I had to go down the street and set it up.
I mean, Jason was there, I think.
Yeah, well, they didn't have to set it up like me. Plus I was doing interviews for KPBS and stuff like that. So I don't think
is that with Beth Acamano?
Beth, yeah.
Shout out to Beth.
Shout out to Beth.
She's a huge supporter of what you're doing.
And I appreciate it. And she was actually going to have a booth at this year's Black Comics Day, showing her. She has a project she's working on, focusing on Black exploitation films.
Yeah.
And so I'm not sure the status. I'm not sure if she's going to be able to have it ready for Black Comics Day. But if we'll see. I think she's going to have promotional material there, though. So, well, originally we wanted to actually show some actual footage of the projects behind that.
Cool. I guess we'll start wrapping up the show, but we'll do a Thunder Round, because would a Hall H show be without a Thunder Round? So, Alex, why don't you take it away?
All right. First question. Is New Year coming up? Any resolutions you want to share with your audience?
As cliche as it sounds, get back in the gym. Get back in the gym for sure, because my stomach's out of control from sitting at like I said, I've been working on 2 books at once and munching on junk food, and it's like, okay, I'm too old for this.
Yeah, man, you got to join the Comic-Con Fit movement, man.
I do. I need to.
All right, next question. When the movie version of the Power Knights is made, what kind of music would you want to be on the soundtrack, and who you want to be?
What kind of music?
Yeah, and who do you want to compose the score?
Oh man, you put me on the spot.
Well, why don't we just make it simple? Well, what song do you want to be used in the beginning, and what song do you want to be used at the end?
Well, I want it to be original music.
Okay.
But if I had to pick a composer, it would be between John Williams and what's my man who did Zimmerman?
Hans Zimmer.
Yeah.
Hans Zimmer. Yeah.
Hans Zimmer.
I think he did Braveheart, right? I believe.
Oh man, he's done a lot of things, from all the recent stuff. Like he's basically the modern day version of John Williams. So, but someone of that caliber anyway. I like that stuff. or whoever I don't know his name. Whoever did the Spider-Verse soundtrack, he's good too.
Cool.
Especially like you didn't see it yet.
Not yet.
Yeah, you didn't see it yet. But he did this Prowler theme, the villain, the Prowler.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, that's some like Hans Zimmer on John Williams, March of the Death Star theme type level stuff.
Oh snap!
Mm-hmm.
All right. Next question. If you could go anywhere in the world right now, where would you go and why?
And I've seen some friends like Hannibal and Daewoo and Liwei. I never can say his last name. and Liwei. They recently went to Africa and they kind of did a video documentary of their travel there while they in real time, so that I've been wanting to go there. And obviously, I definitely want to see the pyramids in Egypt. I just want to see those things up close in real life and go inside one.
I don't
think you're allowed to go inside one, though, right? Some of those are forbidden. Like
I have no idea.
The government won't let you go to certain ones, but I want to see that. I would just like to see all the seven wonders of the world, like Easter Island.
Oh yeah. Machu Picchu.
Yeah.
Great Wall of China.
Great Wall of China. All of it, because it's a different thing. You see it on YouTube or you see the photos. It's just, but obviously in real life it's different. And if I could go to the moon or at least fly around it, I'd like to see that.
Well, I think there's plans to go back up there.
They've been saying that for a while. I'm waiting. What's his name? Elon Musk?
I don't know.
He's definitely determined to do it.
I think the only way we'll get back to the moon is if another country says that they want to go to the moon.
Yeah, we need to do it just to kill this whole. We need to once and for all kill this whole two theories: the flat Earth.
Oh yeah.
Flat Earthers, and we never landed on the moon. Conspiracies. They need to be put to bed once and for all.
And there's a base on there already.
Yeah. So if they're really going to do this space tourism thing that they keep talking about, that should just dead all of that.
You wouldn't want to go to Japan and check on your son?
I need to. Because they get out the house and they don't think they need to adhere to any more rules because he's spending a little too much time on Fortnite now.
Oh really?
And he knows he has to go to either work or school in the morning, and he stays up playing Fortnite.
Maybe
way too long.
Maybe he's doing that $100 million tournament. Is he doing it?
Yeah. For those of our audience who doesn't know, Keithan's son, he graduated from high school and he decided to, go to college in Japan, right?
Right. Yeah. He's testing the waters there. So it's his first time being out in the world. He's not completely out there by himself. His grandfather and grandmother live there, and his aunt. But this is his first time being away from us, his parents, this long. So he has a newfound freedom. He may be taking a little bit too much advantage of, because he's still young. He's not even 20 yet, and so. Me being older, I understand the value of making sure that you set yourself up for the future. But like all of us, we're gonna experiment and think we know everything when we really don't. So I have to be patient with him, but at the same time, as a parent, I'm still concerned about making sure he stays on some type of direction, because it can get out of hand if you're too lax.
Yeah. All right, next question. What are some comic books that you're reading right now that you think your audience should check out?
Bitterroot by David Walker. What was it? I have a couple of, but I haven't been keeping up with it. But Justice League is pretty good right now. I think Scott Snyder's writing it. What was that? I picked up some independence. these days I like to just try issue ones of independent stuff, so I don't necessarily remember them offhand. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But I like to just, I don't know. Like I said, I go in there now as an older comic book collector. I don't have the same energy I have for the mainstream stuff anymore because I've seen those stories over and over, like the Spider-Man, Thor, X-Men, and all that stuff. It's like I see it, it's just not I'm not compelled to pick it up as like I used to. So I kind of go more into like the stuff that maybe Image Comics is offering or one of these other indies. You know, a lot of stuff I get from Kickstarter.
Do you think Marvel should like start their own sort of Vertigo imprint?
Weren't they supposed to bring it back? Wasn't there rumblings about them bringing it back, or they
DC
try to bring it back? Vertigo?
I don't know. Good question.
I think they were. No, I think it's just a generational thing. Like I think Marvel should continue on with their flagship characters, but make sure that those characters are. I think you should focus those characters for the newer generation instead of catering to someone like me. You know, at some point I have to let it go because I can't just keep saying do it like you did it in the '80s. That's the way I remember it. Like you just can't keep doing that. You know, so I think they should go forward and diversify those characters and give them new adventures. But for someone like me, I think you need to offer something completely new. So it makes it exciting. So I have new territory to explore, because I mean, I honestly, there's not really too much they can do to the X-Men and Spider-Man that's new. Like, I mean, are you gonna make a clone again? I've read the clone stuff. I've seen the marriage. I've seen the breakup. You killed them a couple of times.
You restarted the whole universe.
Restarted the whole universe a trillion times to end up back at the same spot. You know, I mean, I know you're not going to change the origin. You know, so that's why the indie stuff is a little more exciting to me, because that's a new perspective, a new creators, new perspectives. Even though it's the same genres like superhero, science fiction, westerns, or whatever, that doesn't change. But what does change, what makes those exciting again, is hearing it from an all new perspective or a new point of view. You know, that's why I hope like something like a creator like Bobby Rubio, for instance. You know, if he actually puts out his a Filipino character perspective, because for someone like me, I'm not Filipino, but the draw for me is, I get to find out I get my feel on the fantasy side, but at the same time, I also get educated on Filipino culture if he chooses to add that in the story. And I think that's what makes it unique, you know?
Yeah.
That's why I think people who have problems with diversity in comics really are doing a disservice. Like, dude, you can learn so much about the world through art if these artists are not inhibited by putting their culture within the stories, you know. Let them do it, you know.
Yeah.
There's a difference between doing something like that versus someone who uses it as a hate machine. That stuff I'm not cool with. And I've seen stuff like that where the art, for some reason, these so-called artists think that they make comics or stories or films about bashing another culture. Like, to me, that's like, you don't need comics for it. Why don't you just go get a microphone and get on your soapbox and preach your hate and be done with it already? You know.
Let's see. Next question. You make first contact with an alien from another galaxy. Since you're working hard to finish the next issue of Power Knights, and you don't have time to babysit, what movie do you have them watch?
Say that again.
You make first contact with an alien. And you're too busy working on Power Knights drawing. So you put in a movie. What movie do you make him watch?
Because you're too busy to babysit him.
Yeah.
Or her.
What movie do I make the alien watch?
Yeah. Well, since you're working on your comics.
Is it to educate him or something? Or?
It's up to whatever you want to do. I mean, if you think he needs to know the Earth.
Is this like the scene in Captain America when when the Falcon was telling him what he needs to catch up on.
Something like that.
Something like that.
Oh man, Alien. First of all, after freaking out, gosh. Okay. Well, man, that's tough, man. Like, okay. I make him watch the first Star Wars film, not Episode 1 or the prequels. I'm talking, or that order, like Episode 4, because that's really the first Star Wars film, right? I make him watch that, and I tell him, watch this film so you understand where the creators, this generation's creators, the people who are in power now, where their sensibilities came from. Okay, watch that, because that's the blueprint, basically. Gosh, there's so much good stuff out there. I wouldn't make him watch something like Space Odyssey 2001 or Blade Runner, but I think he would be bored to death, so I wouldn't recommend that. That's for later. Because I think those are great films, but I don't necessarily
those
think
are like the deep cuts.
Entertaining.
Those are like the deep cuts, right?
Yeah. Because I don't want him to be bored. That's for the artist. That's if you're really that's if you're like what do you call it? Into the artistry of filmmaking. Watch those films. Watch the Godfather series. I should do it by genres. Okay, you want to watch a gangster movie? Watch the Godfather series. You want to watch science fiction at its best? Watch Star Trek and Star Wars films. They're not necessarily. I don't want to say that they're the best that was ever created, but they're basically. The culture revolves around that template. And finally, watch Spider-Verse for animation and animation artistry.
Cool.
And I don't know. That's too hard for me to answer. I got a trillion movies I can recommend. I mean, stuff that has nothing to do with science fiction, not movies I love.
Hopefully, after all that, the alien doesn't decide to wipe out the whole planet.
All right, last question. What's one thing you learned this week?
This week?
Yeah.
What did I learn this week? I did learn something. I'm trying to remember. See, I already forgot what I learned. What was that thing that might have been something small? Gosh. I don't know, but I did learn that word today that you told me that Chad called you.
Kuya.
Kuya.
Like older brother.
Older brother. Kuya. That's Filipino. That's
Yeah.
It's the word Tagalog.
It's Tagalog.
Yeah.
Tagalog. Yeah.
There you go.
I guess before we close out the show, is there an artist or another creator out there that you think our audience should check out?
You guys keep giving me all these questions that has a million answers to.
Well, we have 5 minutes left before they kick us out.
Yeah, check out Chad Kavanaugh. He's based here in San Diego. He'll be at Black Comics Day, particularly Boxcar Justice, but his other offerings are great too. But I particularly like that one the most. Check out Robert Roach. He's up in L.A. Check out Jason Reeves. And not only check out Jason Reeves, he runs 133art.com. Jason Reeves is your go-to guy for affordable quality printing for people out there that are making comic books. I'm really trying to promote him as a go-to printer. He's located in Los Angeles, and he's passionate about comic books as well as as he has his own. And he'll be actually printing the Power Knights 4 So
Awesome.
so you can see the type of work he puts out.
Yeah, Jason's a good guy.
He's a good guy. He's always defending the DC movies. I find him online defending every time he's defending Aquaman right now against all comers.
I liked Aquaman. It was good.
I haven't seen it yet, so I don't have an opinion on it, but I know he seems to always be in some type of online battle between somebody and try to defend those the Justice Leagues and the Batman versus Supermans and all that. That was funny.
But I think I like Bumblebee better.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I haven't seen that either. Yeah. I heard Bumblebee has a lot of heart, and I heard Aquaman is it's more of a roller coaster ride. It's more of a spectacle than anything. Than more of a story.
Mm-hmm.
So they work differently.
Sure.
But like I said, I think Spider-Verse is the complete package. You get the story, the emotion, and the ride.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to it. Did we miss anything? Is there any other project
the artist. Shout out to my artist. I like Be Amazed Studios too. Molly Schofield, she's the owner of that. That's an indie, and they're called Be Amazed. And I always contribute to their Kickstarters, and she puts out book like Bounty Hunt, is it Space Bounty Hunters or Space Bounty Hunters or Bounty Hunter?
Yeah, I think I
You know
heard
what I'm
that
talking
one.
about?
I think so. Yeah.
And her latest one is Ultra Shock Boom, like a kid with electricity type powers. That's the latest one that I got from her. But I like the quality of her books, and they all have this blockbuster movie feel to them. So check out that. It's Be Amazed Studios, Molly Schofield.
Okay.
What else? Greg Anderson, Elise. His Were Spider.
That's right.
Check out that. And he's actually doing he has some other stuff that's about to hit that he's doing with Marcel Dupree and his Revolution line of books. Both of them will be at Black Comics Day as well. Rodney Anderson from
Accidental
Aliens, which you did the panel, the moderating for. Mm-hmm. He'll be at Black Comics Day.
Cool.
With his all new book. I don't remember the name of it, but I do know he's
Sword Saga.
Yeah, he's trying to bring light that because in fantasy art, like the Conan Barbarians and the Lord of the Ring type of genre, you don't see a lot of black characters in the lead roles of those type of stories, and he's trying to pioneer that genre. And so check out his Sword Saga series, which was on Kickstarter. Who else? And the rest of the Accidental Aliens, they like their anthology book that they put out every year, where they're all combined. They have short stories. So
you got Scott Lost,
Emily
Rocha,
Travis
Whitehouse. Travis Rivas.
Who has an excellent book.
Yeah,
Tristan
Sherp, his book called Cherub.
The Unstoppable Cherub. I think.
The Unstoppable Cherub. That's another excellent book. Check that out. And you can find these books at Kamikaze here in San Diego. There's 2 locations that I'm aware of. One in Point Loma,
Liberty
Station, and then Claremont, the first store in Claremont, owned by Robert. What's Robert's last name?
Good question. I forgot. Sorry, Robert.
Robert. Everybody knows Robert. Robert's good people too. Robert also very good about letting independent creators do book signings at his store. If you give him a heads up on what day you want to do it, he's pretty good about it. And we have plans to actually premiere the Power Nights 4 there. Like I'm thinking of doing a signing party there out on the lawn and have some food and entertainment and stuff. So we're thinking of putting some kind of extravaganza together.
It's a good location.
A kid comics based show.
It's a good location for it.
Yeah, for sure. So all my indie buddies on Facebook. I can't name them all. Love all you guys, and a lot of them will be at Black Comics Day, and I just can't remember everyone's name off the top of my head to shout them out, but it doesn't mean I don't appreciate what you're doing.
Cool. Where can people follow you online? What's your website?
The website is kid-comics.com. That's kid-comics.com. That's where you can go to purchase any and all of the issues of the Power Nights. There's also my partners who have their individual IPs on there, like The Dragonfly by Michael William Turner, Vegas Baby by Chris Ward, and he recently changed his name to Noble Ward. Don't ask me why, but he did. And then there's a bit of a indie legend from the 90s, Roosevelt Pitt Jr., who has a book called Purge out, and he's actually going to have a panel here on Black Comics Day for his animation project that he's been working on.
Looking forward to meeting him.
So he'll be here. But like I said, for now, for folks who can't make the show, just go to kid-comics.com and you can see all this stuff on the website, that at least under the Kid Comics brand, our stuff, and you can purchase that stuff from that site. You can follow me on Facebook under my name, Keithan Jones, or Kid Comics Online, Facebook, Kid Comics Online, or you can follow me on Instagram on the KJ Kidcom, or is it KJ Kidcom on Instagram, or Kid Comics KJ. That both of those combinations work.
Instagram KJ Kidcom.
Kidcom, right?
Yeah,
it's KJ Kidcom, and so I think it's Kid Comics KJ on Twitter.
Or you can just go to his website.
Yeah. When you see that kid logo, you have found me.
Keithan, Happy New Year, brother.
Thank you, man.
Yeah.
Happy New Year to you, both of you.
Man.
And thanks for coming on the show again. And let's make 2019 an awesome year.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah. Can you believe that?
Jeez.
We're almost at 2020. That's like some science fiction stuff there.
All right.
Still no flying cars, folks.
All right, Alex, why don't you close out the show?
All right. Thank you for listening to the Hall H Show podcast. We love putting the spotlight on some of our favorite pop culture and comic book creatives like Keithan Jones here. And you can find this podcast on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, iHeart Radio, TuneIn, Spotify, and on our website, hall-h.com. And if you believe in our mission to be the voice of independent creators, we would appreciate a rating and a comment on iTunes. And please spread word on social media using the hashtag Hall H Show. Peace, cheers, and Happy New Year. And make a point to visit Artist Alley in all the conventions you plan on going to in the following year.
Cool.
Thanks a lot.
Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year.